Hi everyone. So welcome back to my channel. I decided that it's a bit of a gloomy day outside and I really wanted to film the books that I've been loving recently, like a part 2. I made one, I don't even know, maybe 6 months ago, half a year ago, I don't know, but I'll link it up here. I'll do one of the little cards. But yeah, I just really wanted to show you the books that I've been loving. So let's get right into it. The most recent books, the book that I read was this. I finished this today. I read it in 2 days. This is Love on the Brain by Hazelwood. It is her second book. Her first book is the acclaimed, the TikTok famous, The Love Hypothesis. This book is fantastic. It's a bit spicy, but it's a fantastic little nerdy romance. The banter, chef's kiss. I love this book. This book definitely was like one of the best romance books that I've read in a while. This is about Olive Smith, who is a PhD candidate, third year PhD candidate. And she doesn't believe in lasting relationships. She's just all about the science. But her best friend is like, you should really start dating. And so she panics and she says she's going on a date, and then she goes to the lab, and then her best friend is there, and she panics and she kisses the person that she sees, which just happens to be a professor named Adam. And it's just kind of like a fake dating thing, and I love it. It's great. I love it. And then this is the book that I read most recently, Love on the Brain. It is an enemies to lover trope. It is about Bee and Levi. Bee is a neuroscientist who gets hired by NASA to make some fancy schmancy little helmets for astronauts. It's much more clearly written, obviously. And Levi is her co-leader on the whole project. And it is lovely, and it is endearing, and it is just the coziest little book to read. Speaking of cozy books, this book, Small Town, Big Magic by Hazel Beck. I read this around the Halloween season because I wanted to get a little spooky, but not too spooky because I can't handle any sort of like severe horror or like extreme horror. But this is about Emerson Wilde, who, lives in this place called St. Cyprian, and she has this perfect like life. She has this wonderful friends that are like her found family, and then she finds out that she's a witch, and that all of her friends are witches, and then it kind of just all goes downhill. Like the world explodes. She's learning all of these new things about herself, and it's just one of the best cozy little books that I've read. So definitely recommend this book. It's super, super good. And I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this book. Continuing with the romance. I read these 2 books by a very well-known author. I read Be Treed first by Emily Henry. But it's about Augustus Everett, who writes literary fiction, and January Andrews, who writes best-selling romance. And they're both in a bit of a funk, and they both just happen to be living in cabins in northern Michigan next to each other for the summer, and they just kind of help each other get over writer's block through a bet. That's as much as I can explain without spoiling a lot of the details. But this is good. I love this book. 10 out of 10. But this book, amazing. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is her most recent book. She might have a new one. I think it's called Happy Place, but this is the most recent one I could get my hands on because I'm a bit of a paperback lover. I'm not much of a hardback lover. So I wait for things to come out in paperback. But this is really good. This is Nora Stevens. She is a literary agent, right? And then she agrees to go to this place called Sunshine Falls in North Carolina with her sister. It's like a little break. She goes there for a month, and it's like a sister's trip away. And it's just kind of Nora kind of handling many things that have been thrown at her in her life. And she just keeps bumping into her enemy that she's like she thinks that he is her enemy, and in reality, you know, he has the butterflies and his little heart for her. I don't know. I'm so awful at explaining these, but it's just a romance book, and it's a lovely romance book, and it's a lovely romance book about book lovers, which is so exciting because you're reading this book, you are a book lover, and you get to like have a nice, cute, like quirky, booky romance. I love it. So those have been great little cozy, not super hard reads that I've been loving a lot. This is To Have and to Hoax. I know there are 3 books in this series. I've only read this first one. This is about Lady Violet Grey and Lord James Audley, who met, fell in love, and then got married. And then they had a huge fight. And then for 4 years, they haven't talked at all. They're still married because, you know, this is set in like Victorian times. But they are not the kindest to each other. Violet receives a letter that James has been thrown from his horse, that he's unconscious, that she needs to rush to his side. So she rushes to his side and realizes, and she discovers him in a tavern, completely alive. And she gets extremely upset because he doesn't understand why she's concerned. I don't know. It's really, really good. I loved this book because it had a lot of twists in it that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting just a nice historical romance book. But it had some twists to it that actually kept me on my toes. I did in fact like it. Should I save my favorite book for last? Let's save my favorite book for last. You stayed to the middle of this, just stay for a little longer, and then you'll see what my favorite book of the entire year was. To continue. This book, The Atlas Six, by, I think it's Olivie Blake. I don't know, but this book, fantastic. This is the second to last book that I finished. So I finished this and then I read Love on the Brain. This is really good. It's got there's multiple perspectives, so it's from 6 different characters. You get their perspectives, which is really cool. This edition that I got has some really pretty illustrations in it of the characters, so you get to have like an image of them, which is really cool to me. But it's about the Alexandrian Society, which is a magic society that kind of guards all of the knowledge that was in the Library of Alexandria, which is really cool. And so every 10 years, every decade, 6 recruits are picked, and then they kind of learn some stuff over a year, and then one of them gets eliminated from it. Like they choose who leads the society, and then the other 5 are initiated into the Alexandria Society, which gives you like unlimited power, unlimited knowledge, unlimited magic, all of the stuff. And it's really good. Lots of twists, lots of turns. And then if you like this book, there is the second book, which is out, which is called The Atlas Paradox. But yeah, which I'm hoping to get for Christmas. What else? Oh, this was the beginning of the year. I read these books and they were the best books in the world. So I'm just going to talk about them as a whole because I'm not going to talk about each individual one. We have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, which is the first one of the series. And then it's The Wicked King. And then it's The Queen of Nothing. These are about, they follow the story of Jude. So Jude and her twin sister are brought to the town of Fairy after their stepdad brutally murders his ex-wife and her current husband. That is the beginning. That is what you open this book up to. And it is their stepfather who technically adopts them after killing their mother and their father. Because, you figure all of that stuff out. So it's about Jude and her twin sister, Taryn, existing in the world of Fairy. And fairies, the Fae, despise humans, hate humans, think humans are the worst. And so it's these 2 humans living in the high court, not just like peasants, like they were in the high court. and it's kind of how they go about their lives and everything, and interact with the like prince and the princesses of the kingdom. But yeah, it's really good. Definitely, I've read them back to back to back. Like, they were so good, and I could not put them down. I got these for Christmas last year. But so if you are looking for a gift for a fantasy lover, or somebody who's trying to like dip their toe into fantasy books, these are really, really good because they're not overtly, some like fantasy books can be really, really like sexy, a little spicy. These are not. These have the perfect little sprinkle of romance in them, but like they are just they're just beautifully written. And Holly Black has like just such a talent with words. I have no other way to say that, but she is such a great writer. So I 10 out of 10 would recommend these books. I have 2 more books to talk about. Remember, we're saving my favorite book until the end. This is a really great book. This is in a series of, there are 7 books in this series, plus I believe a prequel. So 8 books. This is the first book. I have not finished reading the second book yet, but this book was fantastic. I think it's definitely something I'm just going to have to keep coming back to. And not just read all 7 of them. Can't do that. But this is called Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. And it's really good. So, there used to be magic in this world, but there's no longer magic. And this assassin, like the best assassin, the world's greatest assassin, named Selena, she's in prison, and she's summoned out of prison and summoned to the castle to compete in a championship, to be the king's champion, and she is the prince's champion. So, you know, each lord gets to pick their champion, and their champions all fight out to the death. Some of them to the death, some of them not to the death, right? They were like, some of you might die, some of you won't. And they fight to be the king's second hand, right? Like the king's assassin, basically, right? The king tells you to go do something, to go kill somebody, you go kill somebody. That's who they're fighting to be. And it's her freedom, right? She does that for 3 years or 5 years or something like that, and then she's free, which is fantastic. A fantastic deal for her, who is somebody supposed to work in like a coal mine until she died. So it's really great, and the characters, you fall in love with them. Selena is like a badass, like so amazing. She's just so cool. And you just kind of learn, it's a very like, it's a fully thought out world, which I loved, right? Like you can see that there's really thought put into the world that Sarah J. Maas is creating in this book. And rightfully so, because she spent then 6 more books on the same world. So definitely would recommend this book. It's very, very good. And now, I know you were all waiting for this. I know you were all on the edge of your little seat. This is the best book I've read. I do not like nonfiction books, or at least I like them, but I don't gravitate towards them. I don't gravitate towards like nonfiction essay books. But when I tell you, I devoured this book. It is honestly one of the best books I've ever read in my life. It is so unbelievably easy to read, and it's written in his voice, which is crazy. Like, it is written in John Green's voice. Like, I listen to John Green's podcast with his brother Hank Green, and it's in his, I'm reading this and it's in his voice. It's so crazy. But anyways, this is the Anthropocene Reviewed. It's essays on a human-centered planet. It's really just essays on things. There's an essay on Diet Dr. Pepper. There's an essay on teddy bears, Canada geese, the internet, academic decathlon, and it's literally just essays And then at the end, he rates them. And so he's like, it's a 4 out of 5 stars, 4.5 stars. And it's just so, you learn little things, right? Like you read a chapter and you've learned something. And it's just like 2 pages about the internet. And yet you still learned something. I don't know. It's just fantastic. And it's also just kind of gave me a little bit more hope in the world. Like gave me some hope back for like the world being a good place, because John Green is just such a sweet human being. Everybody should read this book at some point in their life because it's just such a great book. And I give this book 5 stars. I really did. There's a little rating part in my little book here. And so I rate every book that I've read. This was and is the only 5-star book. It's the only 5-star book. I've given many 4.5 stars, but nothing has really lived up to like the pure joy that I was feeling when I was reading this. Like nothing. So John Green, he's not watching this. There's no way that John Green's gonna be watching my video. But if he was watching this, you changed my life with this book. And I'm eternally grateful for that. Those are all my books that I've read recently. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you a few ideas for like maybe some Christmas presents for some people who love the books. I wanted to get this out before like prime time, Christmas time starts, because it felt like a good gift guide that you guys could use. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell to be notified whenever I upload content. It's really been just like when I'm feeling like it. Comment below what your favorite book of this year was, and have a wonderful beginning of your Christmas season. And look out for some more videos to come. Bye guys.